Good morning, good morning, good morning. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, and you are breathing. Today is Monday, December the 17th, 2022. My name is Stephen Carnegie, and welcome to This Is Just a Thought. Today's word of the day, congenial, which means pleasant, friendly, or suitable. Congenial. Hope everyone's enjoying that Monday or will enjoy that Monday. Another manic Monday. Here we go. Start of the work week. Christmas week also. Christmas is Sunday, by the way. Just thought I'd let you know in case you forgot. Man, weather here in North Carolina. Cold, cold, cold. Temps down into the 20s at night. During the day, it raises up to about 40 or maybe 50 today if we're lucky. But man, that Arctic blast is coming. It hasn't even gotten here yet. But it's pretty much pushing its way up through I won't say the entire United States, but it's pretty close. Pretty close. And they're saying later on this week, midweek going into Thursday, we might see some mixed precipitation. But it won't be enough. They're saying it's expected to be no accumulations. But man, that cold air is coming. It is coming, and it is coming fast. So much so, they're saying Christmas Eve is going to get down to 17 or 19. And during the day, Christmas Day, it is only expected to get to 30 or 31 degrees. Wow. Hey, for all y'all that were asking for the winter back here this summer, you got it. Careful what you ask for. Careful what you ask for. Because it's here now, and it ain't letting up. Man, I stepped outside this morning and was like, oh no. Tried to go out without a hat or a coat on. Figured I could go to the car and get something, but that was a no-go. As soon as I opened the door and stepped out, I turned right back around and grabbed my hat and coat. Hey, I just did. I'm getting older. I'm not young anymore. I ain't no spring chicken. You know, those aches and tugs. You know, the old folks used to say, you're walking around here half naked. When you get older, you're going to feel it. Guess who feels it? I do, and I did. So, yeah. That's just the winter. It's finally here. And it is winter is coming Wednesday, right when we're supposed to get that little mixed precipitation. Maybe it's a prelude to what is a-coming. What is a-coming. All right, let's move along. Also, man, hey, let's move along to some football. You know, the playoffs are here. And it started quite possibly Thursday night with the 49ers and the Seahawks. 49ers won 21-13, by the way. But they did it, and they're doing it, I should say, with a third-string quarterback. You know, the first-string quarterback, that rookie sensation, he went out with an injury earlier in the year. And then the backup, Jimmy G, he went out with an injury a few weeks ago. And then Deebo Samuels, another star on that team, went out with an injury last week. And now they have a third-string quarterback. He's looking pretty good, though. He has a good cast around him. So, hey, he's putting in the work. He's making the reads. So they're looking pretty good. There's still playoff hopes for them. We'll see what happens with the 49ers. Was a good game. And like I said, that team, you know, at one point in time, they were saying they were going to be in the playoffs. Hey, they might even make it to the Super Bowl. That would be surprising with a third-string quarterback. But then again, stranger things have happened in the NFL. So maybe the 49ers will get there. And let's move along. Also, Saturday there were a few games. There were a few games. The Vikings versus the Colts. Now, the Vikings are 10-3, and the Colts are that time are 8-1. Now, the Colts are that squad. They just are. Any given Sunday, at any time, they're like the Lions. They could put some points on the board, and they might just spoil your celebration. But old Matt Ryan did what he always does. Throw the damn game away. They were up. They led a huge part of the game. They were winning. I believe it was like 33-0 going into the end of the second or the third. And then all of a sudden the Vikings just caught fire. And they pulled it off 36-39. Well, you know, Matt Ryan, that's what he does. He blew a Super Bowl game against Tom Brady and the Patriots. Remember that game? They pretty much led the whole game. to the end of the third, going into the fourth, and then they just gave everything up. Man, Matt Ryan, I don't know. Maybe he runs out of gas as the game progresses. Because just like in that Super Bowl with that game Saturday, he came out blazing, making all the reads, making all the passes, and he was doing everything right. Then all of a sudden, just a flop. He just flopped. He just did. Man. But then there was the Browns versus the Ravens. That was an AFC North old slobber knocker that was kind of surprising, but it really wasn't. Browns won, by the way, 13-3. But, the Ravens, Lamar Jackson's out. He's out. So they're doing it with a backup, and it's showing. They were one point in time, they were saying they were going to go deep in the playoffs, and they could end up in the Super Bowl. That's the NFL playoffs. Never know which way it's going to turn. Case in point, the Buffalo Bills versus the Miami Dolphins. The Bills won 32-29. Dolphins led the game. They had it in the bag. But then the snow started. Buffalo is notorious for that snow. And it showed, because when it started snowing good, going into that third in the fourth quarter, the Bills took over. Josh Allen just took over, and he put in work. Like I said, they won 32-29. Last few seconds, but they held on. That's Buffalo. So Buffalo, hey, they might make it to the Super Bowl anyway. Who knows? And then let's move on to Sunday. Yeah, it was a good week for NFL football. It was. All right, I'll start it off with the Chicago Bears against the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts does what he does. 25-20 was the final score. By the way, Justin Fields, the Bears quarterback, he broke a rushing record. So, hey, that's a plus. Like always, the Bears are looking good. Even though they're losing, they aren't just rolling over and dying like they are notorious for doing. Hey, I'm a diehard Bears fan, and I'm going to tell you, that's just what they used to do. They're looking good. Maybe next year they can pull it together and see. We'll see what happens. But, of course, they're eliminated from the playoffs. And they've been eliminated from the playoffs, I should say. But that was it was a fairly decent game. It just was. Justin Fields certainly kept the excitement going. And then there was the Chiefs and the Titans. In overtime, the Chiefs won 30-24. They pulled it out. And one upset of the day, it just was. The Cincinnati Bengals versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bengals won 34-23. The GOAT, Tom Brady, didn't look so good. The GOAT didn't look so good. Cincinnati pulled it out. I have no words. They just pulled it out. They just did. That was surprising to me and many others. Because like I said, the GOAT, Football Tommy, couldn't get it done. Did you guys catch that Raiders and Patriots game last night? The final game of the day, the Raiders won 30-24 in a last-second defensive touchdown. The Patriots came out. They did a little flea flicker, and they were laddering the ball, and somebody laddered it back, and it was intercepted by a defensive player who ran it back for a touchdown, which took the lead in the last seconds of the game, and they won. The Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders, still odd saying that. It just is, the Las Vegas Raiders. That is just odd to me. It just is. And the Giants versus the Commanders. Well, the Giants won 20-17, so they're hoping they can get into the playoffs in a wild card. We'll see. The New York Football Giants versus the Washington Conquistadors. They're the Commanders, by the way. That was a fairly good game also. It was pretty close. Two teams that are in that NFC East that are hoping and praying they can get into the playoffs, even if it's with a wild card. But it looks like maybe quite possibly the Giants could get there. We'll see. We will see. And the surprise of the day. Upset, upset, upset. If you've been listening, whether it be on Anchor or here on YouTube, I've been telling you for oh so long. Dallas Cowboys lost yesterday. They lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars? Yep. They struggled last week against the Texans, and they were exposed. And apparently those Jaguars went and watched, maybe they watched some of that film, and they put something together because they end up beating the Dallas Cowboys 40-34. Wow. Dak Prescott. A lot of turnovers. Interceptions. Key plays that could have gave them the lead. He didn't perform. Now there are a few Cowboy fans that are calling for him once again to get out of town. 1 minute you guys are praising him, and the next minute you're trying to boot him out of town. Yeah, the Cowboys lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars of all teams. Trevor Lawrence, he is young and up and coming. He does look poised at time. So apparently he kept his composure yesterday and got him one. We them boys, we're Super Bowl bound. I told you guys, I've been telling you ain't going to no Super Bowl. This is just what Dallas does every single year. The infamous, and I do mean infamous, skid and flop is here. It is no longer a coming. It's here. Dallas Cowboys in the Super Bowl? You can't even beat the Jaguars. You barely beat the Titans. You've been exposed. You guys have been exposed, man. Come on now. That's it. That's a wrap for you guys. Take a seat on the couch beside the Bears fans. Come on. It is what it is. It's going to be what it's going to be. It just is. It just is. All right, let's move along here. Hey, last Thursday, I got a text message from Durham County Public School. And the messaging was informing that due to the bus driver shortage that's going on here in North Carolina and throughout the United States, that they quite possibly, the bus arrival could be delayed or it flat out wasn't going to happen. And it looks like what has happened what happened for many. They were saying 14 routes, and those 14 routes affected 21 schools. A lot of kiddies, they were delayed or they didn't make it to school, or like the message said, unfortunately, you're going to have to provide transportation for your kids. And a lot of parents were in that situation, scrambling at the last minute, trying to find a way to put their kids to school and get themselves to work also. Man. Like I said, this is going on throughout the United States and here in North Carolina also. It's not the first time. We've been battling this situation since the beginning of the year. And here we are. We're not, we're midway through going on to the winter break. So maybe after the winter break, they could get something together and fix this problem. Realistically, highly unlikely. Now, a lot of school districts here in North Carolina, of course, they up the pay raises. And some school districts are offering up to $1,200 as an incentive for new bus drivers to sign on. Maybe it'll help. Maybe it won't. But we'll find out. And maybe it'll be a continuation after the winter break. Now, if you're saying to yourself, well, how did all this come? How did they have a bus driver shortage? COVID. COVID. COVID wins again. Because after we came back from COVID, a lot of bus drivers, just like with a lot of other jobs here in this country, a lot of folks said, nah, I'm not doing that anymore. Yes or no for me. A lot of those older bus drivers, they retired or they quit. Just did. So that's the purpose of that incentive of that $1,200 or up to $1,200 bonus some school districts are offering as a sign-on bonus. Man, to think that there quite possibly could not be public transportation to a public school, it screams something. It screams that we need to get a handle on this and get a handle on this quick. Just like I said, there were a lot of parents that were left scrambling Friday trying to get their kids to school. and themselves to work. Now, if you're saying, hey, they could have took them to school themselves, there's a lot of parents that don't have transportation. Odd as that sounds, there are a lot of parents who don't have an automobile. So, Uber, maybe. City bus, maybe. But it's just mind-boggling that there quite possibly could be a continuation of no public transportation to school for these kids. So that has left a lot of school districts, like I said, here and in the United States also, they're scrambling also. They're trying to figure out what to do. They're scratching their heads. They can only recruit so fast. Now, like I said, when a lot of those school bus drivers, when they came back from COVID, they were asked, why they quit, or they asked the school officials why the bus driver, there was a shortage, why they quit. A lot of school bus drivers said, hey, of course, the regular kids, the parents, and pay. School boards or school districts really can't control the kids too well, or the parents, but they can control the pay because a lot of school districts up the pay. And I think there's going to be a whole lot more. Those that didn't up the pay, they're going to have to. Because this just isn't happening in Durham or Raleigh. It's happening out in the rural areas also. Chatham County. Orange County. They've had a problem. So if you're staying out in the rural part of North Carolina and you rely on public transportation to get your kid to school, that is a headache. And you're left scrambling, trying to figure something out. So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. Hey, a little bit of an update, or a continuation, I should say. Moore County. We all know Moore County. They had that power grid strike about a week or so ago. Those substations that were shot up, 2 electrical substations were shot up. They lost power. Pretty much the whole county was in the dark for almost a week before power was eventually restored. Wow. They're still trying to investigate. They have subpoenaed cell phone records. They're looking at surveillance camera, trying to figure out who it was. And also, last week, Governor Cooper and the First Lady, they took the advantage to go to some of the small businesses, small shops in Moore County and do some shopping, trying to help them rebound after they spent the better part of a week without power. Wow. Once again, to whoever it was that did that, you put a lot of people in a bad spot right here at the holidays. Just did. Trying to prove a point. Trying to force someone's hand. Trying to show who you are. You jammed a lot of people up. A lot of innocent people got jammed up. Like, no power, no heat. A lot of folks are, electricity, you don't miss it until it's gone. And then there's the possibility, they really haven't said anything else about it, but then there's the possibility that whoever did this could have a murder charge because someone died. They never said if it was directly as a result of not having power, but they put it out there. Maybe they're still looking until they find out who did it, and then they're going to drop that murder charge to give you a little extra time. Who knows? It could have been an elderly person that was on dialysis. They needed dialysis. Could have been an elderly person in a nursing home. Could have been someone in their home that the temperatures got so low. Anything could happen. They're still investigating, and we will see what happens. I'll keep you guys updated on that because that most definitely is something that is it's unconscionable. Just is. All right, look, hey, there's a viral video that came out sometime last week, and in this viral video, a college student here at Winston-Salem State University, was seen being escorted out of the classroom in handcuffs, a 20-year-old female. And she was yelling and screaming. Apparently, her and the professor got into a disagreement. Police were called, campus police were called. They came in and removed her from the classroom. Now, of course, like I said, the video went viral, and those online, the argument of over-policing and aggressive policing has came back to the forefront once again. But if you're saying to yourself, what in the world happened? Because that's the first thing I said. I said to myself, what in the world happened? Why are you being escorted out of a classroom and you're in college and it's during an exam? Because that was during their exam. Apparently there was a disagreement about an exam assignment. maybe she didn't like, or maybe she didn't feel she needed to do that. Or, well, what came out, and there's been an update of sorts. One of the heads at Winston-Salem State University came out, and apparently there was a paper, and the teacher didn't give her a favorable mark. So she let it be known that she thought the teacher was being too harsh. So another thing that came out, this official and campus police said they were called only after, because there was another faculty member also that was present, and the faculty member called. They were called only after the professor tried to de-escalate the situation. She tried to de-escalate the situation. The student was so upset. Apparently she couldn't, because when the police came, we don't know what fully happened other than statements from students or the administrators, because the only thing we saw on that viral video was her being escorted out in handcuffs and her screaming and yelling. We don't know what happened before, but school officials said that it was over a paper, quite possibly. Maybe that was part of the exam, and she turned hers in, and it wasn't a favorable mark, so she let it be known. She was so disgruntled and upset. But I gotta say, here's the question for me. How did it get to that point? That you're a college student, you're 20 years old, you're getting ready to take an exam. Yeah, you got an unfavorable mark, but how could it get to the point that you were taken out of the classroom in handcuffs? I mean, and now you have a disorderly, or quite possibly could have a disorderly charge on your record, disorderly conduct charge on your record. You're just getting started out in life. What happened? Like I always say, and like I always tell myself, you gotta control those emotions. You gotta look at the bigger picture sometime. Just do. If this was the case that she was upset about a mark she got on the paper, did you go to the professor or ask to speak to the professor after the exam to find out what you could do or what you did wrong? Or did you just erupt and let all your feelings and emotions out? We got to learn how to control those emotions in this society. And that's everybody, male and female, black and white. I don't care who you are. When you reach a certain age in your life, you can't fly off into a rant every time. You can't throw a temper tantrum. Maybe this is what it is. Because like I said, officials are still investigating, and they're saying they're going to, get to the bottom of it. Now, a lot of the students that were there, like I said, the students started recording. They're saying that the professor and the student got into it. They got into a shouting match. They both were shouting and screaming and yelling at each other. But they also said that the professor tried to de-escalate the situation, calm down, and was trying to calm her down, and eventually she couldn't, so much so that another professor heard the commotion, heard the ruckus, came in, tried to calm her down also, then called the police, called campus police. Once again, what happened? I know college isn't easy. It's hard, but you got to control your emotions. You got to look at the bigger picture. Just do. And that's anyone in life. Like I said, once you hit a certain age, you got to control those emotions. You can't fly off into a rant and rave every time something doesn't go your way or you feel something is not going your way. You just can't. Just can't. All right. Let's go get it. Wow. There's been a report released a couple Thursdays ago by the Disability Rights of North Carolina. And in this report, they released a report investigating up to 109 city and county jails here in North Carolina. And they said of that 109, pretty much nearly 40% failed. And they failed miserably. They've been failing. The report, it detailed, or it tracked from 2017 to 2019 city and county jails. And this isn't the first time we've heard this about our city and county jails here in North Carolina. And it's going on throughout the United States. There's a lot going on in the United States with our municipalities and our infrastructure, whether it be roads or schools or whatever or what have you. And now it appears to be jails, because they're saying, like I said, nearly 40% of those that were in this study, they didn't meet the grade by any stretch of their imagination. Now, some of the findings were state investigators found missupervised rounds in Rowan County between 2017 to 2020. And of those missed supervised rounds, they said there were 4 deaths. And also in Edgecombe County, the Edgecombe County Jail, there were 8 deaths, and 4 of those were suicide. Even though state regulations and these audits repeatedly cited the jail for failing to supervise people. And over a 3-year period here in Orange County, which sits right beside Durham, the jail remained open despite citations for overcrowding in a sprinkler system that was defective. Like I said, this isn't the first time we've heard this. We've even had problems here in Durham County, the Durham County Jail. There was a gentleman a year or so ago that one committed suicide. One died during custody as a result of a medical emergency. I believe he was a diabetic and he couldn't get to his insulin or whatever or what have you. Like I said, this isn't the first time we've heard this. It's a continuing problem. Now, of those discrepancies, like I said, it was lack of supervision, capacity limits. Yeah, we always hear of those jails being overcrowded. They just are. Fire safety, those sprinkler systems. In some places, they even had fire exits blocked. What they're saying is there were construction and sanitation issues. Heard the same thing about Durham County Jail years ago also. Just did. So what's going to fix the problem? Going to have to refurbish, repair, maybe even build some new jails. Because there's a juvenile detention center here in Durham. The old one is being done away with, and they're building a new juvenile detention center because the old one was so dilapidated, ran down. And also there's a topic or a conversation going on about retention. Hiring, and not only hiring, but retaining jail officials. A lot of sheriff's deputies. In some cities and towns, it's the police problem, so a lot of police retention. That's coming up again. So how are we going to foot the bill for this? You and I, Mr. and Mrs. Joe and Josephine taxpayer, that's where the funding is going to come from. It has to. It's going to come from the taxpayers. So in addition to, you and I trying to figure out how to keep our heads above water, now we're going to have to foot the bill for city and county jails. That's not out of the ordinary, I got to say. It always happens like that. Taxpayers have to foot the bill for something. It looks like we're going to be footing the bill for a lot of this remodeling and new construction of these jails. Just is. Now, side note, and probably a main topic I should have talked about before I started the little taxpayer rant. The one thing that came out that really wasn't talked about, but I've heard that conversation numerous times, as we go back to those suicides in Rowan and Edgecombe County. One of the things that was talked about was mental health. A lot of the inmates that come into these city and county jails, they have a mental health problem. So officials are saying we must allocate, or those in charge of the jail from the city or the county, city council or county commissioners, they got to start allocating funds for mental health. Also, they're saying they need more mental health psychologists in there. They need more medical personnel inside the jails also. Wow. Mental health. It rears its head again. Yeah, there's a problem with those that go into the jail system that have mental health. They have the mental health issues before they get there. So once they're there, you got to deal with those with mental health issues. So that's another problem. Who's going to foot the bill for that? You and I, Mr. Joe and Josephine taxpayer. It appears it sure is a lot of leaning on taxpayers to pay for things these days. Now, I'm not being an arrogant, facetious jerk. I'm just not. But to think that the tax dollars are going to have to go to help with jails, it kind of leaves me scratching my head, because I can honestly tell you, I could think of better ways that money could be spent. Like with the previous story I told you about those school bus drivers. Put that money into the school system. Just do. Not just with school buses and the bus driver shortage, but into the education. Now, some places, of course, they're rebuilding or they're building new schools due to the population boom and growth, and that's all fine and dandy. But it looks like we're going to have to foot the bill also to help build some more jails. That is a problem. I'm not being an arrogant, facetious jerk. I'm sorry, I'm just not. But to think that my tax dollars quite possibly could go to build some jails for someone, hey, everybody has a problem. I'm not going to dispute that. I'm not going to deny that. And I'm not going to belittle that. But a lot of you, you know better. Why are you constantly in jail? So much to the point that now there has to be some reconstruction because a lot of those jails are dilapidated. They've been there for years. There really isn't any upkeep, no more than the inmates maybe. And a lot of these counties and cities are saying, hey, we just don't have the funding for that. So they have allowed those jails to go down. Then the overcrowding issue. Yeah, there is a problem with overcrowding. A lot of folks, it's a revolving door. We all know about that revolving door of crime in this country. And a lot of folks, they keep doing the same thing over and over again. Go to court, so they keep locking them up. So there's an overcrowding issue also, apparently. Stay out of trouble. Hey, I'm sorry. That's just the reality of it for me. I know many of you are going to say, well, a lot of folks, they really can't help themselves. They're a victim of circumstance. They're a victim of their environment. I know a lot of people who were in the same situation, including myself. But I didn't allow myself to get caught up. So now, as taxpayers, we have to foot the bill for that. Sure are being asked to foot the bill for a lot of nonsense, if you ask me. You know better. And as far as the mental health aspect goes, I get it, got it, understand it. But how much money, how much more resources are you going to dump into a jail system to help those that continuously keep getting into trouble? I know you're going to say, well, they may have a mental health issue. Okay, I give you that. But you can't get the help on the outside by doing what you're supposed to. So you commit crimes or whatever, what have you, and you get thrown in jail. And now taxpayers and city officials and county officials have to come up with a way to try to help you. Seems off to me. Just does. Like I said, I'm not being an arrogant, facetious jerk, but there's a lot of other ways we could spend those taxpayer dollars than this. But it looks like we're going to have to do it anyway because those findings are somewhat startling, especially that overcrowding and construction problems, and now that mental help thing. Certainly don't want to release people back into the world and they have a mental health issue and they go and do something worse. So I guess they're going to have to give them help inside. We'll see. We will see. All right, I'm going to skedaddle, get out of here. I have to go to work. Later on today. Just wanted to come up here and talk to you guys for a few. Got a lot going on in the world. There's some more things I'll be talking about in another podcast. Certainly is a lot going on. A lot of things. A lot of feelings and emotions are coming out. A lot of people don't know how to act. They just don't. And, of course, the Dallas Cowboys ain't going to no Super Bowl. They just aren't. I love it. That infamous Cowboy skin flop. I knew it was a coming, and you did too. Even you Cowboy fans, you had to be saying in the back of your mind, please don't let these fools blow this. Might be the near end of a perfect or fairly good season. Just might. Hey, I want to thank you all for listening and subscribing. And for those that this may be your first time, hit that like and subscribe button. And jump in the comment section. Let me know what you think, whether yay or nay. Hey, I'm pretty thick-skinned. I won't bite, and I don't get offended easily. After 49 years on this earth, there ain't too much of anything you can say to me that I haven't already heard. There just isn't. So, hey, for all those that have subscribed already, thank you. My name is Stephen Carnegie. Thank you for listening. This is Just a Thought. Amen.